Greetings, guys. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. For those who are new in this channel, please subscribe, like, and comment. As I've introduced my channel, that will be doing the revision of maths in grade 11 and 12. So today is our first lesson. And my first lesson, I'll start by doing trigonometry, of which as a learner you must know trigonometry is plus or minus 50 marks in your exams. So I'll be doing trigonometry today, part 1, on how do they ask questions based on the first question that you find in your examination in trigonometry. So those examples are based on the first question that are found in the examination. So I have 4 examples demonstrating on how do they ask the first question. So mfundi wami hlala phansi ulalele, sithembe ukuthi uzonjani, uzothokozela ukufunda la. So let's try and do the first example and see the types of scenarios of which the examiner can ask this question in trigonometry, the first question in trigonometry. So the first example. Our first example says if sine 23 degrees is equals to P without using a calculator. Mfundi wami laphana, they say without the use of calculator. You must use the calculator when it is necessary. Don't struggle with your calculator, because the teachers are always saying carry your calculator. Why do you carry your calculator when ungeke uze uyisebenzise? So please use your calculator when it's necessary, and keep in mind to use it carefully and smartly. So let's see the question. The question, it was saying sine 23 degrees equals to P without the use of calculator. Express the following in terms of P. So this type of question, when they ask this type of question in your examination question paper, it is easy to tackle this question. Kanjani ke? So when they say express the following in terms of P, they're not giving you a restriction. A restriction is where they say if your right angle triangle falls between 90 and 360, you see. So when they say x is the element from 90 to 360, so in this manner they did not show the restriction. So we just draw our right angle triangle, because they just say express. For you, my learners, always contain this in your heads. Once they say express without giving any restriction, you just construct or draw your right angle triangle. So let's do that. This is our right angle triangle. I think it is small, but I think you will be able to see it. This is our right angle triangle. So, and when we see sine 23 degrees is equals to P, so you must know what is equals to sine. Sine is equals to what? Opposite over hypotenuse, right? Remember those. Remember SOHCAHTOA, right? And cos is equals to adjacent over hypotenuse. Tan is equals to what? Is equals to opposite over adjacent. So now P is all over 1. Remember, P is all over 1, because once P it becomes all over 0, a number all over 0 is undefined in mathematics. So P is all over 1 there. So we remember that sine is equals to an opposite, of which is y, over hypotenuse, of which is r, right? Then P stands for y. and 1 stands for r. So we go back to our right angle triangle, we substitute this. P is an y value of which is an opposite side, so we say P, we say P. Then we have 1 of which is r, of which is our radius or hypotenuse side, of which is the longest side in the right angle triangle. Then we have 1 there. Then we have a side that is missing in that right angle triangle. I hope you can see. Of which is what? Of which is an adjacent side, of which is an x side. So how are we going to find this side? We are going to use what? A Pythagoras theorem, because we are dealing with the right angle triangle. All the time when you are dealing with the right angle triangle and you must find a side, you use the Pythagoras theorem. So it is very easy. So we're going to say x is equals to, of which is our adjacent side. X is equals to, we know that is going to be equals to root 1 minus p squared when you have applied your Pythagoras theorem, right? Remember your Pythagoras theorem. So we have found the missing side, of which is root 1 minus p squared. Now, let's carry on. Now we have found or constructed a right angle triangle, and now we must tackle the questions. We are done with the constructing and finding the missing sides, and for surely you will get a 1 mark for constructing or drawing the right angle triangle and finding the missing side, of which was x, of which was adjacent side. So let's continue. Now the first question says tan 23. We must express tan 23 to 23 in terms of what? In terms of p. So kwenza kanjani ke lokho? It's very easy. So we know sine 23 is equals to p. So we know tan is equals to what? Tan is equals to opposite over adjacent, remember, right? So it's equals to opposite over adjacent. Always remember that. And an opposite side, we said opposite side is y, and adjacent side is x, right? So we will continue. Then we will substitute. What is our y value? Our y value we already been given from there on the statement that our y value is p, right? And our x value, of which is the adjacent side, we have found our x value, of which was root 1 minus p squared. So we have root 1 minus p squared. So we have expressed tan 23 in terms of what? In terms of p. So don't be shocked by that 3 marks. The 3 marks comes from 1 mark from a right angle triangle, and 1 mark for getting an unknown, of which is x, that we have already done lapha phezulu. Sakubona sonke lokho. I think it's very simple. So, and 1 mark for expressing that tan 23 in terms of p. Now let's look at the following question. Okay. The following question now says 2 sine 113. Now we must express sine 113, number 2 lo wethu. So how are we going to express sine 113? We are going to say, when we look at sine 113, we are going to use even a trig function, of which trig functions are 90, 180, 360, 270. When I say 90 plus 23, that is equals to what? That is equals to our reference angle that we were given in the question, of which was 113. So we are going to say there sine 90 degrees plus 23, of which is that reference angle. So we have expanded 113 in terms of 90 plus 23 degrees. So to continue simplifying this, so now we must know which quadrant is 90 plus. 90 plus which quadrant? That's the second quadrant, right? The second quadrant, which trig ratio is positive in the second quadrant? Sine is positive in the second quadrant. So sine will come back positive, and our reference angle that was given there, of which is 23. So now we remember, we remember that 90 is our core function, right? Core function. When we say core function, 90 makes an impact on sine. It changes sine to cos. So we will have cos 23. Sorry about that. Let's continue. Now we want to express cos 23 in terms of what? In terms of p. So we remember cos is equals to what? Is equals to adjacent side over hypotenuse side. Then adjacent side is x, hypotenuse side is r. What is the value of x? We have calculated the value of x as root 1 minus p squared. Remember? Then what is the value of r? It is 1. So you are done expressing cos 23, or we may say sine 113 in terms of p. So now let's continue. We have done 2 questions. Now let's look at the following example. We have done example 1. Now let's look at this following example. Example 1, let me just recap example 1. Example 1 was saying let's express the following in terms of p without giving any restriction, right? So you must know to just write your right angle triangle. Do not construct a Cartesian plane, just write your right angle triangle and find that missing side and tackle those following questions easily, like we have done in those 2 questions. So let's look at the example, the second example. How can they ask in another way that question, of which is the first question in trigonometry? Let's look at this example 2. They can ask it in this manner. They can now give you a Cartesian plane. You can see that. They can give you a Cartesian plane and give you the hypotenuse side and give you a what? Give you the unknown, of which is x, and give you the what? The opposite side, of which is 23. Now, in this diagram, we can see that we must complete. You see, this second example, they can give you in this manner and say, they will not say, but you must complete this diagram and forming a what? And forming a right angle triangle. So let's read the question there. In the diagram below, P is coordinate of K, map 24, is the point in the second quadrant, as they say. And we can see that P is on the second quadrant, such that OP of which is an hypotenuse side is 25 units, N is a point on the positive x-axis, as you can see, N, and PON is equal to theta. This is our theta. And when we check, our theta is above 90. Our theta is above 90. So it's not less than 90, but it's above 90. So it's very easy. Now we must complete our right angle triangle, right? So how are we going to complete our right angle triangle? Are we going to complete our right angle triangle by constructing a line towards the x-axis or towards towards the y-axis or towards the x-axis? There are two things to do to construct it to y-axis or x-axis. Always notice, always your line must be constructed towards the x-axis, of which is the horizontal line. Don't construct a line towards the y-axis. Construct the line towards the x-axis all the time. So we are going to draw the line there from P towards the what? The x-axis, right? This is our right angle triangle now, as you can see. Which side is missing? We have an opposite side of which is 24 as given, and we are left with K, of which is the adjacent side, an unknown adjacent side of which is K. So how are we going to find K? It's very easy. Let's look at this question. They ask us to find the value of K, because we know that the value of K is in x value, of which is an adjacent side in the right angle triangle. And I have mentioned already that if you want to find the missing side in the right angle triangle, you must always use Pythagoras theorem. So let's look at that question. They say, without calculating the size of theta, determine the value of the following. So K, we are not going to calculate the value of theta. Now K, how are we going to find the K? K is a part of the sides of a right angle triangle, right? So we must always use Pythagoras theorem. So we'll say K squared plus what? Of which is y is 24 squared is equals to what? The hypotenuse side of which is r is 25 all squared. This is the Pythagoras theorem. Now, as we continue, what do you notice about K? K, when we see K there in our diagram, K is on the left side of the x-axis and of the y-axis. So which means the values of x in the left side of the y-axis are negative. Remember, so our K must be negative. So we will say K is equals to negative, right? Negative root, because we are cancelling that squared by eliminating by the root. Root what? Root 25 squared minus what? Minus 24 squared, right? So then you just put that in your calculator, and what is the value there? What is the value there? The value there is minus 7. Minus 7. We get minus 7. Get minus 7. So we have found K. Now let's look at the following questions. Now they say 2. Number 2 said tan theta. How can we get tan theta? It's very easy. Tan theta, we know tan is equal to what? Opposite of adjacent. So the opposite side is 24 over an adjacent side is, of which is K, was negative K, but negative K is equal to negative 7. So our answer is negative 24 over 7. We are done. Just one mark. It's just one mark. Then let's complete the question in example 2 by looking at this type of question. Let's look at this type of question. They say, number 3, they say sine alpha. Find sine alpha if the if theta plus alpha is equals to 36 degrees, as you can see. So how are we going to do that? How are we going to attack this question? They've noticed us that if we add degrees plus alpha is equals to 360 degrees. Theta, sorry, if we add theta plus alpha is equal to 360 degrees. So we've been given alpha there. Sorry, been given alpha is, we've given alpha. Alpha is equals to, if we transpose, or if we say if we say we minus theta on both sides, right? If we minus theta on both sides, theta minus theta will be 0, and we'll be left with alpha, then 360 degrees minus theta, right? We'll be left on this side 360 minus theta. Then we know alpha is equal to 360 degrees minus theta, so we'll just substitute there. We'll say sine into 360 degrees minus theta. You can see senze njani laphana, siyakubona ukuthi senze njani. We just manipulated this one and we use alpha as a subject of the formula, and we got 360. Alpha is equal to 360 degrees minus 360 degrees minus theta. So then we substitute. We know now alpha is 360 degrees minus theta. Now we substitute alpha as 360 degrees. So then we will continue manipulating this. We have sine 360 minus which quadrant is that one? It's quadrant 4. It's quadrant 4. How is sine in quadrant 4? It is negative because only cos in quadrant 4 is positive. So we'll put that negative sign there. Then we'll say negative sine into theta, right? I hope everyone can see how am I manipulating and solving this. So now we must find sine theta. Sine theta, how can we find sine theta? Sine is equals to what? Sine is equals to and opposite side of a hypotenuse side. So it is negative. What is an opposite side? Opposite side is equals to 24 all over, and the hypotenuse side is equal to 25, remember, right, in our diagram. So then this is our answer, minus 24 over 25. So we are done with example 2. This is another way of asking the first question in trigonometry, of which they will give you a diagram and you must complete that diagram by drawing it to be a right angle triangle and then finding that unknown side. Then after that you can take over finding the questions below. It is very easy. So we have done the first example, as they may say express, and you just draw a right angle triangle. But example 2, they just give you a Cartesian plane and you must complete a right angle triangle. And completing that right angle triangle, I told you to notice that all the time when you complete that right angle triangle, you must draw a line towards what? Towards the horizontal axis. Towards the horizontal axis. So of which is our x-axis. Not completing your right angle triangle by drawing a line towards the y-axis. That is wrong. All the time you must complete it by drawing a line towards the x-axis. So we have looked at the two